They say faith is fragile, but in the ashes of worlds, under helmets that never lift, there's a kind of belief you don't find in temples. You see it in choices, in sacrifice, in silence, not carved into stone, forged in Beskar, not whispered in prayer, spoken with action. Not I believe, but I stay. You've heard it before. This is the way. But tonight, I'm going to show you why those 4 words carry more philosophy than most people learn in a lifetime. Call me Gage, Cold Braddock, if you're rifling through old deployment files. This is WGAI 13, broadcasting across timelines from trenches to temples. I track warriors who forge character under fire, from ancient Spartans to modern operators. After Batman's discipline, Bass Reeves' justice, and Desmond Doss's quiet defiance, I went looking for something harder to pin down, a myth wrapped in armor, a creed made real by repetition. That's when Nova dropped a custom-etched Beskar drive on my desk. Mando'a's script. No metadata, just the words, Din Djarin. The creed holds, a silent bounty hunter from a fictional galaxy who teaches more about virtue than half the philosophers in the archives. If you've ever clung to a mission when the world tilted sideways, if you've ever walked a code no one else understood, lock on, subscribe, boost the signal. Share this with someone who's still walking their way in silence. This isn't content. This is doctrine. Din Djarin isn't the chosen one. No prophecy. No throne. He's tired, scarred, watching his people vanish and his creed collapse under the weight of war. And still, he suits up. The story starts simple. Bounty hunter takes a job. The target, a child, small, vulnerable, valuable. The smart move, hand over the kid, collect the credits, walk away clean. But Din sees something. Not destiny, not prophecy, just duty. The child is under my protection. From that moment, every decision becomes a test. The Empire wants the child back. His own people question his methods. The galaxy offers shortcuts, status, safety. He refuses them all. When Moff Gideon captures Grogu, Din doesn't wait for backup. He walks into the storm, because protection isn't conditional. When rescuing the child means removing his helmet, breaking his most sacred rule, he does it without hesitation. When his own people exile him for that act of compassion, he doesn't beg, doesn't fight. He just walks on, because Din understands what most never will. The way isn't what others say it is. It's what you live, what you protect, what you never compromise, even when it costs you everything. But here's the thing. To understand why Din's choices cut so deep, why his code resonates across cultures and centuries, you need to understand where it comes from. The history, the forge, the words behind the way. And that's where my partner Nova comes in. While I track the philosophy, Nova tracks the mythology, the cultural DNA that makes these stories stick. Now I understand why that hits so deep. You need context. The children of the Watch, the creed, the history behind the words. Nova's got the deep cuts. The myth, the Mando'a, the forge, the cultural architecture that makes a warrior's code into something sacred. Nova, you're up.
You want to understand the creed. Then you need to understand the fractures. The story of the Mandalorians is one of rise, ruin, and reinvention. A culture built in cycles of fire and rebirth. They began as warriors on the outer rim world of Mandalore, a harsh, unforgiving planet that forged an equally unyielding people. The earliest Mandalorians, known as the Tong, became the Mandalorian Crusaders, warriors of conquest who carved their name into galactic history. They fought the Jedi. They battled the Republic, and they nearly burned the galaxy with them. Their martial code was strict, their armor feared. But over time, civil war broke them, clans turned inward, alliances fractured. What was once empire became exile. Then came reinvention. During the Clone Wars, a radical shift emerged. Led by Duchess Satine Kryze, the new Mandalorians rejected war. They embraced diplomacy, disarmed the clans, built glass cities, trusted peace. But peace breeds enemies. Death Watch, a militant sect led by Pre Vizsla, saw Satine's rule as weakness. They believed in the old ways, the warrior's path. They wore armor, spoke Mando'a, and plotted in the shadows. They aligned with Darth Maul, brought down Satine, plunged Mandalore back into blood and betrayal. Then came the Empire. Mandalore was occupied, subjugated, and when the people resisted, they paid the price. The Purge, the night of 1,000 tears. Beskar melted, cities leveled, the clans scattered to the stars. By the time of Din Djarin, Mandalore is no longer a planet. It's a memory, a cause, a culture held together by armor, language, and creed. But even now, the people are fractured, because Mandalorian isn't a race, it's a choice. And not everyone agrees on what that choice should mean. Some, like Bo-Katan, believe in uniting clans under the Darksaber. Others, like the Armorer, believe in the ancient way, strict, absolute. And some, like Din, are caught in between. So let's talk about the sects. The ancient Crusaders were warriors without compromise, conquerors, raiders. Their path was domination, their faith was fire. They forged the first codes of battle. They treated armor as sacred. They believed strength was virtue. But civil war eroded that path, and in time others rose. The new Mandalorians under Satine Kryze chose pacifism. They abandoned armor, trusted peace, and built a society of artists and diplomats. They believed Mandalore could lead by example, but they were overthrown. By violence, by betrayal, by their own people. Death Watch, led by Pre Vizsla, reclaimed the way of the warrior. They believed the ancient code was not a relic, but a mandate. They wore Beskar with pride. They reclaimed the Darksaber, and when they fell, a fragment survived. The children of the Watch, smaller, stricter, more devout. To them, the helmet is sacred, the creed is literal, the way is absolute. This is the way is not a slogan. It's survival, a ritual, a bond. They live in secret covenants. They raise foundlings, orphans of war. They speak Mando'a, and they never remove their helmets. Din Djarin was raised in this fire, a child of battle, forged into a believer. But that belief is tested, because not all Mandalorians agree. Bo-Katan Kryze, Satine's sister, walks a different path. She removes her helmet. She leads Clan Kryze. She believes in strength through unity, not ritual. She sees the creed as tradition, not doctrine. At first, she mocks Din, calls his people zealots, says they've twisted the creed into superstition. But in the ruins of Mandalore, she fights beside him, because when everything is broken, you need someone who still believes in rebuilding. Today, the Mandalorians stand divided. Helmet wearers who follow the way of the Mandalore, helmet removers who believe culture must evolve, and survivors, scattered, exiled, unsure what the creed means anymore. Some follow the Darksaber, some carry scars, all of them carry loss. And yet, in every camp, every creed, every shattered remnant, you still hear this. Aliat Oris Haya Taldin. Family is more than blood. That's the bridge, that's what remains. So what is the creed? It's not written in stone. It's lived, not whispered in temples, forged in fire. Beskar, Mandalorian iron, is more than metal. It is memory, scarred by battle, unbreakable, resistant to lightsabers, shaped in flame. To wear Beskar is to say, I will not break. But the armor alone doesn't make a Mandalorian. The language does. Mando'a, short, sharp, poetic under pressure, a code of honor wrapped in a tongue designed for war. Verd Oris Haya Beskar Gam. A warrior is more than their armor. Ni Kirtail Gay Saad. I know your name is my child. Aliat Oris Haya Taldin. Family is more than blood. These are not phrases. They are principles, compressed into breath, memorized in battle, passed from warrior to foundling. And above all this stands the forge. The planet is gone. We build in ritual. When the people are lost, we build in fire. When the way is questioned, we build in creed. So, when Din Djarin suits up, he's not just wearing armor, he's reciting history. He's stepping into myth. He is the creed, walking. He is proof that faith can survive fire, that a code can outlive a planet, that honor is not dead, just scattered. This is the way. And maybe, for the first time in generations, it's coming back together.
Thanks, Nova. You bring the star charts and scatter blasters, the language, the lore, the legacy. But me? I bring the war journal, the philosophy buried in the fight. Because Din Djarin, he's practicing Stoicism in a jetpack. And here's why that matters. Not just for Star Wars fans, but for anyone trying to walk a principled path in an unprincipled world. Let's break it down through the 4 pillars of Stoicism, the framework that's kept warriors sane for 2,000 years. 4 core principles like corner posts in a bunker. If one fails, the whole thing can collapse. But when they hold, you hold. First, control what you can. Most vital pillar. Most people live backwards. They chase control where they have none. Other people, outcomes, the past, and they ignore the one place they actually have power. Themselves. Your thoughts. Your actions. Your response when the world turns hostile. That's where you dig in. Din understands this perfectly. He can't control the Empire's pursuit. Can't control his covert's politics. Can't control Grogu's destiny. But he can control his choices. His commitment. His willingness to protect what matters. When everyone else is fighting ghosts, Din focuses on what's his to command. Second, live with virtue. Not values. Not rules. Virtue. It means doing what's right. Especially when no one's watching. Especially when there's a price. The child is under my protection. Not because of payment. Not because of prophecy. Because it's right. Din doesn't do the right thing because it'll work. He does it because it's right, even if he loses for it. Even if no one remembers he did it. And here's the big one. When the armorer asks if he's ever removed his helmet, Din could have lied. Could have taken the easy path. Could have said no. Never. And kept his place in the covert. Instead, he tells the truth. Yes, I have. Even knowing it means exile. Even knowing it costs him his home. That's virtue in action. Choosing honesty when a lie would save you. Third, prepare for the worst. The Stoics called it premeditatio malorum. The premeditation of evil. It means imagining what could go wrong. Not to panic, but to train. Din lives this. Every bounty could be a trap. Every ally could turn. Every mission could be his last. But he doesn't let that paralyze him. He uses it to sharpen his edge. Stay ready. Think 3 moves ahead. When Moff Gideon captures Grogu, Din doesn't panic. He's already wargamed this scenario. Already accepted the cost. Already made his choice. Fear hates preparation. Fourth, remember death. Memento mori. You will die. Not maybe. Not someday. You will. That truth isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to sharpen you. You don't waste time when you know it's running out. Din walks into every fight knowing it could be his last. And that knowledge doesn't make him reckless. It makes him focused. Every choice matters when time is finite. Every moment with Grogu is precious because nothing lasts forever. That's the 4 pillars. Control. Virtue. Preparation. Mortality. Din watches Mandalore fall. Watches his covert shatter. Watches his culture fragment into arguments and exile. He can't fix the galaxy. Can't rebuild the planet. Can't force his people to unite. But he can raise one child right. Protect one innocent. Walk one code with absolute integrity. And sometimes, that small act of faithfulness is enough to start a revolution. This is what the Stoics meant by focusing on your sphere of control. Din doesn't waste energy on outcomes he can't influence. He pours everything into the choices that are his to make. Now here's where it gets real. Because yes, Din Djarin is fiction. Star Wars is make-believe. The helmet, the jetpack, the blasters, all of it imaginary. But the code, the conduct, the philosophy he embodies, real as steel, twice as tested. Marcus Aurelius would have nodded at his restraint. Epictetus would have admired the choices over words. Seneca would have understood the price of living by principle, because we're all walking through collapse right now. Systems failing, codes cracking, people choosing comfort over character, convenience over conviction. And the question isn't, can you fix it all? Can you save the galaxy? Can you rebuild civilization? The question is, what's your way? What won't you compromise? What do you protect when everything else is negotiable? Din Djarin found his answer in a warrior's creed forged in the fires of genocide and exile. The ancient Stoics found theirs in reason, tempered by virtue, and tested by empire's collapse. You find yours in the choices you make when no one's watching. In the standards you hold when the world says let it slide. in the people you protect when protection costs you everything. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That's Marcus Aurelius. That's also Din Djarin. Same philosophy, different armor. In a collapsing galaxy, fictional or real, someone has to hold the line. Someone has to choose discipline over chaos, duty over desire, code over convenience. Someone has to be the way, not because they say it, but because they live it. So if this broadcast steadied your aim, if you recognize the warrior's path in your own life, carry the signal, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone walking their creed alone. Hit that notification bell because we're building something here, a community of people who choose principle over popularity. Tell me in the comments, what's your code? What line won't you cross? What do you protect when the world says it's not worth protecting? Because every warrior needs a creed, and every creed needs warriors willing to live it. Creed isn't a costume, it's commitment. This was File 9. This is the way. Din Djarin, Hunter, Father, Stoic. The lesson isn't complicated. Find your way. Walk it with honor. Protect what matters. Hold the line when everything else crumbles. Because at the end of every mission, every day, every choice that counts, there's only one question that matters. Did you hold the line? Next time, we ride with someone who carved freedom through chains and shadow. A woman who turned the Underground Railroad into a living gospel of liberation. But for now, remember this. Your armor isn't made of Beskar. It's made of choices. Daily decisions to choose principle over comfort, duty over desire, way over wandering. This Gage, Cole Braddock, WGAI 13, signing off from the archives. Stay armored, stay honest. Walk your way like you mean it, always. This is the way.